Hey everybody, great to see you all here. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Laura Bolio and I'm the VP of Marketing here at Holistiplan. I am very pleased to introduce to you my good friend Meaghan Dowd. She is joining us today as an official member of the Holistiplan team, which we are absolutely thrilled about. So Meaghan is going to be the Director of Product Insurance. So she has four very specific special designations, each related to specialized knowledge in different areas of insurance and wealth management. What we're talking about today is a topic that is becoming more urgent and important as we speak. So insurance risk management reviews and making sure your clients have enough coverage and have the right types of coverage when it comes to insurance. As a reminder, Holistiplan has an insurance risk management tool. It's available in our Premium Plus tier. You can go ahead and start a 7-day free trial if you want to test it out. And before we dive in, yes, this will be recorded. Yes, we will send out all of the slides and the Q&A afterwards. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them as we go. Or actually put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them as we go. And then, yeah, let's get into it. What are we talking about today, Meaghan?
Thank you for the introduction, Laura. Today we're talking about cyber insurance, specifically just your client's digital world in which they live in. And always starting with statistics is important because it really shows the need for this conversation. So 98% of cyber attacks rely on social engineering. And what is social engineering? It's the manipulation technique that exploits human error to gain private information, access, or valuables. In cybercrime, these human hacking scams tend to lure unexpected users into exposing data, spreading malware infections, or giving access to restricted systems. The most common form of social engineering is phishing. And every 14 seconds, there's a ransom attack that occurs. And ransom attacks occur that are a threat to publishing or blocking access to data or computer systems, usually by encrypting it until the victim pays a ransom fee to the attacker. In many cases, the ransom demand comes with the deadline, and if the victim does not pay in time, the data goes away forever and the ransom increases. 1.4 billion accounts are attacked each month. So whether that's personal accounts through, larger corporations that you've used your credit cards or clients have used their credit cards at, your client's data is always being exposed in some way, shape, or form. And over 75% of targeted cyber attacks start with an email. And usually those out of that 75%, 74 of those are from a phishing email. And phishing attacks, again, exploit that human error and they harvest and spread malware using different ways. And typically we see four main types of phishing. One is spear phishing, where they aim to obtain sensitive information or access to computer systems by sending personalized messages via email, text, or phone. Attackers use this method frequently when leveraging information from social media, public databases, or previously breached to enhance their credibility. Whaling targets your senior high profile employees, such as chief executive and financial officers. Attackers craft highly personalized, convincing messages to extract an organization's sensitive information and data. Phishing with a V entails making phone calls or leveraging voicemails while pretending to be a reputable resource. And then email phishing, again, which is the most common, attempts to steal sensitive information by email, whether that's an individual or an organization. So today we're going to talk about the Thomas family. Kevin and Kelsey Thomas have been valued clients of yours for over a decade, starting when they were a young family. They reside in a digitally connected world where technology plays a central role in their daily lives. Kevin works in medical sales, frequently traveling for business, while Kelsey operates an online consulting business from her home. They have two children, Michael, ages 14, and Mary, age 12. Recently, Kelsey decided to upgrade their 2019 Yukon to a 2024 model. A $45,000 down payment will be wired to the dealership in the coming days. Their son, Michael, is passionate about gaming and actively participates in online competitions with friends. Unfortunately, he fell victim to a phishing scam diagnosed as a gaming tournament registration a few weeks ago. This incident resulted in unauthorized access to personal information and his parents' credit card information being out there and vulnerable to cyber threats. Their daughter Mary enjoys social media and frequently shares photos and communicates with friends online. She loves to play video games like Candy Crush on her tablet. The Thomas family, like most, embrace the convenience of technology in various aspects of their life. They utilize online banking from financial transactions to monitoring their home systems remotely via their smartphones and Alexa, and rely on e-commerce for everyday shopping needs. However, these conveniences also expose them to potential cyber risk, such as identity theft, financial fraud, and privacy breach. So I think it's important to kind of show you the financial footprint because as a trusted advisor, it's crucial that you address these technology exposures in your clients' everyday lives and specifically in their insurance coverages, emphasizing the need for a comprehensive cyber insurance protection for again identity theft and other cyber related risks that can impact them. And as you can see, when it was just a family of two, they had a few exposures, but now 10 years later, not only do they have the exposures of their children, but they just have newer conveniences such as Wi-Fi appliances, public Wi-Fi, and different aspects that maybe not or were not as vulnerable in their past 10 years. So next, we're going to talk through just their day-to-day digital exposures. When it comes to Kevin, he connects to public Wi-Fi in coffee shops and hotels when he works on the road. When we connect to public Wi-Fi, specifically clients, it's important that they understand the Wi-Fi network they're connecting to. Ideally, they would have their own that they could connect to via like their cell phones, but otherwise, maybe they do connect to the Starbucks Wi-Fi in order to send some emails quickly. We will see hackers set up fake Wi-Fi links within the establishment, such as a Starbucks. So your clients may click on the Wi-Fi network thinking it's Starbucks. However, it's really a hacker, and they're now going to sit and monitor your clients' keystrokes, watching their emails, and enjoy kind of capturing their clients' information as they sip their coffee and work blindly. Next, Kevin uses the USB charging ports in airports to charge his phone before flights, which again is a common practice that a lot of us do. However, there are cyber criminals out there, and there's a thing called jacking, which is a form of cyber attack where hackers tamper with public USB charging ports, infecting them with malware or making hardware changes to allow them to steal data from devices connected to them. So this again is something very common, but a very easy way for hackers to get into your personal information. He also connects his Bluetooth when renting vehicles because hands-free driving is the safest way. However, when connecting your phone to a rental car, the Bluetooth systems can pose cybersecurity risk because the car can store sensitive data from your phone. This includes the device name, call logs, text messages, address, GPS history, internet search history, music streaming, and the list goes on. A hacker could potentially access your data by connecting their phone to the car's Bluetooth system, even if the phone isn't nearby. There's a few different ways that we see Bluetooth hacking occur. One is bluejacking, which again is taking over a device via Bluetooth. Blue snarfing is a type of cyber attack that gives hackers access to a Bluetooth device, and then they can get to things such as contacts, text messages. There's blue bugging, which is a more advanced way in which attackers gain control of a device, including they can make phone calls or gain access to sensitive information. Blue smacking occurs when hackers launch a denial or DDoS attack on a smart device, causing it to crash or become unresponsive. And then car whispering occurs when hackers target car radios and eavesdrop on conversations or phone calls made inside the car. And again, this all starts with connecting a Bluetooth to a vehicle of some sort. And again, typically we see the exposure increase in rental cars. And then obviously managing his personal and work on his cell phone, the emails. When you do that, you just allow hackers to potentially get into both by cross-contaminating the different Wi-Fi networks that they're using. Next, we'll talk about Kelsey, their wife. She uses the cell phone to manage their home. She pays bills, tracks the kids, and does a lot of other things. She also uses the Wi-Fi for personal and business. She transfers money, and her current vehicle does have the home address and garage door programmed in. So one thing to consider is when using your cell phone to manage your home, there's a term called IoT, or Internet of Things. And when we see these Internet of devices, they're always or usually connected to the same network, and it can make the network more vulnerable, because once malware is on an IoT or in the Internet of Things device, cyber criminals can now use it to gain access again to that sensitive information, control devices, and spy on network activity. And this can become important because with Kelsey and this upcoming wire transfer, we want to make sure that she's not going to get fake wiring instructions from a third party that maybe got into her system over the last few months via maybe their cell phone, and that hacker's been watching Kelsey email back and forth with the dealership. They now know on August 15th, she's going to be wiring $45,000, and she's just waiting on the wiring instructions. On the 14th, she could receive wiring instructions, assume they're from the dealership, but actually a third party, and may miswire $45,000 due to a cyber attack. And then again, when we go to turn in vehicles, we never know who is going to purchase our vehicle next. So it's extremely important that we remove any sensitive data and again, unprogram things like the garage door. Michael,
We have a question. We have a first
fabulous.
question. Okay, this one comes from Lynn. So when you're in an airport to use the USB charging, does it help if you plug in a rechargeable battery into the USB and then plug your phone into the battery? Does that in-between battery help protect against hacking?
So I'm not a total cyber expert. I'm an insurance expert, so I don't know if that's going to completely stop it. I think it would be beneficial. I do know though, if you plug in like the actual socket plug, that does eliminate the ability, but I don't know if adding a wireless kind of battery would deter or stop any type of hacking, unfortunately. But I can look into
think
that.
I think probably the safest thing would be to bring your own rechargeable battery, right?
Correct.
That way you could completely bypass the airport.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn. Keep these questions coming. We'll have plenty of time to answer them, so keep them coming.
Wonderful. So now we'll talk about their son, Michael. He openly talks about life with his friends while playing video games, i.e., upcoming travel or weekend plans. This can become an important thing to talk to Michael about, and just really making sure that when he's talking about travel, that he's not exposing sensitive information like where his family is going to be, or maybe that the home is going to be unattended for a long period of time. We also see where sometimes the other players can overhear conversations that Michael's parents may be having around sensitive subjects, whether it's work related, finances, but understanding who's listening in on the games Michael's playing is important to, again, that cyber hygiene. He also registered for that online tournament. So again, phishing schemes and emails are a huge exposure. There's a lot of different ways to check if it's legitimate or not. You can hover over the email address, you'll see misspellings, but really making sure that Michael and children understand how to register properly is important, and or maybe potentially having a separate credit card for those registrations. So if there is any type of compromise, it doesn't affect mom and dad's overall financial stability at this point. And then lastly, he shares Wi-Fi passwords with friends when they come over, so they can connect and play video games, which is, again, another common practice that someone comes over, they're like, what's your Wi-Fi? We hand it out. But your Wi-Fi network is very sensitive. And again, the second you allow someone onto that network, you're opening up your vulnerabilities from viruses, malware, because they're now connected, and those then can transmit into your network and, again, those Internet of Things. And then for Mary, she uses social media to connect with friends. One thing that she needs to keep in mind is when she shares photo, there can be sensitive information attached to those photos. So whether that's a timestamp, sometimes we see location marks, but we want to make sure that Mary isn't giving away where she is, especially if her family is high profile. It could put them in harm's way potentially. She also enjoys, again, sharing those photos and then playing Candy Crush. And with Candy Crush, just seems like a very harmless game. However, there are ads that pop up during these games, and she may go to X out of that game. However, it could accidentally click on the ad, which now downloads a virus to the phone, and all by accident. Again, she could then quickly back out, not assuming anything occurred, but just by clicking on that ad, she's actually already downloaded the virus, exposing her family's network to the malware. So how do we limit these exposures day to day? And there's a few different ways we can do this. So with Kevin, he should really have a VPN or a virtual private network that he's connecting to whenever he's out of the home. This just helps kind of mix up his internet information so it's hard for a hacker to track and really follow that IP address. Again, when it comes to avoiding connecting the Bluetooth to the rental, um, and just avoiding doing business on a personal phone and laptop, and really having your personal laptop be for personal things, your business be for business, and not having them crossed. Again, it can be a little unfortunate to have two phones on you at all times, but it really is the best cyber hygiene. So we're not jeopardizing data in either process. And then for Kelsey, when it comes to, managing the household, password etiquette is key. We don't want a hacker to figure out the password for one piece of her privacy, maybe even just her Facebook. But now that Facebook password is also the password to their banking, it also is the password to their financial stuff. And there's just a lot of different ways that hackers can get in when you don't have a strong password. So not only do we want the password to be changed frequently, but there's a new thing called passphrases. So it's more like red dog go, or, wild horse runs fast, and different things that come to mind for you and your family, but are harder for a hacker versus, I love you 1 2 3, or the word password tends to be a common word used. So again, etiquette and just making it harder for hackers to get in will be a very big piece to protecting your clients' cyber hygiene. Double authentication. So again, this sometimes can be seen as a pain, but when it comes to protecting your information online, this double factor authentication basically has you enter in your password, and then it sends you a phrase or code to a separate device, usually a phone, that you then enter in. And that again just allows you to have a little more safety. So if a hacker does get your password, they may not be able to get in because you have that double factor authentication set, and they wouldn't be able to get to the second password needed to enter. Wiring fund etiquette. So again, for clients or even yourselves that do manage money online and wire, it's important to understand different etiquette. So whether that's having both a email and verbal confirmation of where the money is being sent and how much is being sent. Maybe again, there's two people that have to sign off on it. So there's different ways that you and your clients can protect their wiring situations, but this is something that occurs more frequently than not and can easily be avoided with just a second step. And then again, when selling her vehicle, we want to make sure that she deletes all that personal information off the car so that no one can, one, figure out where they live, potentially get into their garage and break into their home, and a lot of other, bad things that unfortunately occur in today's world. Then with Michael, one way for him to help kind of limit his day-to-day breaches is again, don't share the details about travel until they return. There was a study done by Crime Science that said 60% of burglary victims talked to said they were active on social media daily or several times a week, posting plans about going out of town or flaunting beach shots from their vacation is a neon sign to burglars that no one's at home. So again, not tagging or sharing vacations until you are home is very big, and just again, minimizing that exposure of even a burglar occurring at the home. And then with Michael being so active in the gaming world and having friends over, the Thomases did decide to add a second Wi-Fi network. And again, it's important to, if you add a second network, that you utilize it properly and you logically group the devices within the home, isolating groups from each other. So perhaps, maybe having a network segment that is just for your Internet of Things and that guests use, and then another Wi-Fi system for your primary network that the family uses. And again, maybe has a little more sensitive information on it. And then Mary, really hers is pretty simple. She's just going to confirm the individuals that are requesting to be friends with her. She knows, so that we're not, again, exposing our personal information to others. She removes the tags on the locations of the photos. She limits the information she shares online, such as favorite colors, pet names, and different things that might be used as hints and password recovery and or in grabbing her attention for other situations. And then she does not, again, connect with strangers online when playing games and is only participating with her friends. So I've used the word cyber hygiene a lot, and there's a lot that people can do to, again, avoid cyber claims from occurring. A few of them are on here. One of them is, again, just be very careful about posting your sensitive information. We have a lot of clients that actually put a security freeze on their social security number, which helps avoid accounts being open. Avoid the quizzes online. So again, it's really fun to play, what's your favorite color? Who have you known the longest? And all these things. Where'd you go to high school? But a lot of times those questions are answers in a way for criminals to gain personal information about you and your family. So then they, again, can use other information that they found online to connect the dots and get to the information they're looking for. Be cautious about the permissions you give on apps. I think it's very common for us all just to accept so we can get into whatever app we're trying to download. But a lot of times when you're giving permissions, you're giving permission for that app to have access to photos, have access to maybe even your phone or your microphone. And so with all of that, again, allows them to potentially ease drop on conversations and just simple tasks that eliminate those exposures, really help your clients. Again, they keep their computer and phone secured with passwords and PINs. They don't disclose information when using public Wi-Fi. This is, again, something common, but not a lot of people think about. Change your router name and password that was provided by the internet provider. Again, you just don't know who's setting up those systems, if they're going to keep that or what can happen. So very quick and easy way, but then again, avoids the simple attacker from getting in. And then just making sure that the websites they are using are secure. And they can do that by just making sure that HTTPS is located within the website. So when it comes to cyber, we've talked about a lot of different verbiage, and I'm just quickly going to talk through some cyber coverage definitions, and then we'll talk about cyber coverage that's available in the marketplace for you and your clients. So identity theft is a word we hear a lot, and really from an insurance standpoint, it's just reimbursement for expenses incurred due to identity theft, such as legal fees, credit monitoring, and identity restoration services. Fraudulent transactions are illegal or unauthorized use of financial systems or payment instruments to be obtaining goods, services, or money without account holders' consent. Cyber extortion is a type of cybercrime that involves using digital threats or cohesion to force someone to act against their will. It involves blackmailing an individual or organization by threatening to release sensitive data or launch a cyber attack. And then we have data breach, which is something we hear a lot in today's news. But a data breach is a security incident that occurs when unauthorized parties gain access to sensitive or confidential information. This information can include personal data such as social security numbers, bank account numbers, healthcare data, corporate data, customer records, intellectual property, and financial information. There is coverage for costs associated with data breach, including notification costs or credit monitoring and legal fees. Cyberbullying is the use of technology to harass, threaten, embarrass, or target another person. Online threats, it means aggressive or rude text, tweets, posts, or calls on all accounts. So just posting personal information, pictures, or videos designed to hurt or embarrass someone else. And there's, again, coverage available for cyberbullying. And then privacy protection is the right to control your personal information and keep it private. There's a few states out there that really push on this law pretty hard, but it also includes the right to know what information others have about you and how they use it. Privacy protection measures can help prevent unauthorized access, use, or theft of your personal and digital assets. So what coverage is out there for clients? The first thing to note is every insurance company has different coverages, definitions, and limitations when it comes to cyber coverage. But what cyber protection does is it provides claim guidance by knowledgeable experts, from extortion specialists for when your computers are hacked, maybe your client's involved in a cyber extortion, online fraud, and this can happen via smartphones, computers, and again, other connected devices like Alexas. There's also the ability to purchase coverage for financial reimbursement. So the first coverage we see on most coverage forms is cyber attack coverage, which pays to recover data and restore systems that have been lost or damaged after attack involving malware or unauthorized use of an owned or leased covered device and connected home device. Covered devices include computers, security monitoring systems, smartphones, smart appliances, tablets, thermostats, and Wi-Fi enabled devices. Cyber extortion provides payments and professional assistance in responding to demands based on a credible threat to damage. Maybe they're going to disable access or to disseminate content from a device, system, or data, including ransomware attacks. And then next is online fraud. So again, this is the result in a direct financial loss, including counterfeit currency, illegal bank and credit card transfers, and phishing schemes. So this is again maybe where we see that email with the wiring instructions being fraudulent, and then we have your client sending that 45,000 to an unknown third party. Your cyber coverage can help protect them in those situations. And then financial loss coverage is the reimbursement of non-recoverable accounts. So this is going to be reasonable costs incurred by the insured for ensuing damages or expenses such as salary due to the time off work and attorney fees. And then last is the personal protection. And this coverage provides coverage for costs incurred by insured for psychiatric services, private tutoring, temporary relation expense, and more. So this really would become beneficial if one of your clients were the ones being cyberbullied. Maybe they had a child that was involved in cyberbullying and they needed some psychiatric help. There's going to be coverage within the cyber program to do so. And a lot of times I get asked, well, this has to be expensive. There's a lot that goes into this. And in all reality, there's a lot of companies out there that offer $25,000 in coverage for as little as $30 to $40 a year. And then you can get up to $250 to $1 million in coverage, anywhere from about $8,000 to $1,000 a year. So again, depending on how frequently your clients utilize online, how digitally connected they are in the Internet of Things, and even maybe just how much they're wiring funds could really dictate their need for this type of coverage. And so some claims examples. When it comes to the coverage, these are some examples that are from Cincinnati Insurance Company. So obviously, again, every scenario is a little different based on claims, but the first scenario is that wire fraud. So bad actor gained access to insured's email account and used it to wire more than $44,000 to two separate bank accounts. The insured discovered that they were a victim of wire fraud and when they were reviewing their bank statement. The result was the bank was able to get back the first 11,000 that was wired. However, they were not able to get the second payment that was sent. So the misdirected payment was recovered under the client's personal cyber protection policy and paid out $32,000. And again, this is a situation where if this wasn't covered by the insurance company, they may be coming to you as the advisor to get the money because they may have had this ear tagged for renovations, kids going to college. So this money is not just lost to the client. Sometimes it can be affected in your portfolio as well. Next is a cyber extortion, so the file lockdown. This insured logged on to her computer and found that the files were locked in a ransom email in her inbox. It first asked for $3,000 in order to get the decryption key, and if they did not receive that, it would increase to $6,000 after 2 days, and then after that, it would be permanently lost. So with this, and after consulting with experts, her insurance carrier paid the ransom of $2,500. And this is important because sometimes we'll find that if you pay these individuals, you then get put on a list of payers and then you'll continually be attacked. So having this coverage, your clients have a team of professionals to navigate these situations so they know if paying this cyber criminal could actually help their situation or hinder their situation. So again, it's more than just monetary reimbursement. It is also that team that comes along with these coverages. And then last is the cyber attack with the Trojan horse. So the insured opened a file attached to an email. It appeared to be from an old friend. However, it was not, and it had a virus which infected the insured's computer. They needed some technology support, experts to reformat the hard drive, reinstall the operating system, and restore data from backup. While the insured was able to save his computer, he was not able to save all of his data, which goes to a point of backing up your data is so important, because even with these great coverages, not all the time can we save it all. So having it backed up to a cloud or to a device is very important for your clients as well. And in this situation, they were able to recover $1,500. Any questions?
We have one question. This question says, can you go back to the slide with the different types of cyber coverage, please? Okay, there we go. Did we have was there a specific question about the types of coverage? You can just drop it right into the Q&A.
And usually if your clients have this, you'll see it as an endorsement like you would water sewer backup or earthquake or something like that within their policies. And again, the limits range, the coverages and how they're executed range, but having some type of coverage in today's world is usually better than no coverage at all. And cyber coverage is different than identity theft. So don't be fooled if you see identity theft on your clients' policies to assume that that's also cyber coverage.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
Correct.
All right, question from one of our anonymous attendees. Who do you recommend for cyber insurance?
I think there's a lot of good companies. USAA has a pretty good form. Cincinnati has a very good form. Chubb does. I don't know Farmers or State Farm's form very well, but I do know they have coverage available. So it does just kind of vary. I will say a company like Cincinnati, they don't have sublimits on their extortion coverage, where a company like Chubb does have some limitations in their extortion coverage. So depending on what your client's needs are, could dictate who offers the better program. But Safeco also, or Liberty Mutual also, has a very good cyber product for your everyday individual that includes the team of professionals and monetary reimbursement.
Another question, does cyber coverage pay out if someone gave money away through social engineering?
So the situation of the claim does matter. So unfortunately, it's the typical claims answer of it depends on if there would be coverage, but there could potentially be coverage. If the client was deceived in giving that money is typically where we see coverage afforded in the policy language, and that deceiving piece is a big part of it.
That's a big thing happening right now, right? Like spoofing, where people call and pretend to be one of your kids or maybe a parent in distress. They use AI to do the voiceover, and then next thing you know, there's like a ransom for an event that didn't even happen.
Yes, and that situation typically would be covered by cyber.
Yeah, okay. Okay, next question. What goes into quantifying a data loss into a dollar amount? Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a great question that I wish I had a better answer for, but I don't. Again, it unfortunately just kind of goes back to the individual client that you're working with and their frequency of digital usage.
Which, I mean, it's fair to say that it kind of applies to everybody, right?
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know
yes.
anybody who doesn't use digital products.
Yeah. Even again, I mean, even for your renters that you work with, they probably have a phone that's connected to an email or a computer somewhere that's connected to their car, and that Internet of Things is real, even at the Alexas of the world. So, yeah, I think it's a need regardless of kind of the size or exposure.
Okay, question from AJ. Does a personal cyber policy cover home businesses? How does that work for those who operate a home-based business?
So it does not cover home businesses. There's specific exclusions within the personal coverage for business, but there is coverage on the commercial side for whatever business you're operating. So whether it's education, consulting, whatever, and depending on the business can drastically change your cyber needs. Because if you're maybe a doctor's office that has HIPAA stuff, you then have HIPAA compliance for if there is a data breach, you then have to offer monitoring to all your clients that were breached. That can add up very quickly. So again, if you have concerns from cyber and a business side, it definitely probably means you have a cyber exposure that you should look to get coverage for, but it would not be through the personal form that we discussed today.
If you have cyber coverage through your company, do you also recommend one for personal?
I do because just like for the personal, it doesn't go to business, the business doesn't go to personal. So you might, again, open a business email that infects your business computer that the company will cover. But now that also got to your personal cell phone, that got turned off and you can't get the phone or whatever it may be. And that's where your personal coverage would need to kick in.
What does a typical premium look like for cyber coverage?
It's pretty affordable. So again, like 25,000 in coverage is usually 25 to $50 a year. And then for clients that, you know, have larger needs, 100,000 is anywhere from like 150 to $300 a year, depending on the carrier.
That's really reasonable.
And there's usually different deductibles too than your homeowner. So if a client does have like a 10,000 all peril deductible, their cyber could be like 5 or 1,000, knowing that the situations are a little different than like a home fire occurring.
Could we go back a couple of slides, Megan, to the slide where we had the 10 years ago and then the today, the digital footprint slide? I think this is so telling, and this is so, so important to talk about just how the digital footprint has really expanded and multiplied over the last couple of years or so.
Yes, and I would say, you know, the appliances is a big one that people don't think about. And while the conveniences of it are nice, it's very easy because a lot of times appliances don't have updates. You can't update your microwave like you can your phone or your computer. So once that appliance is outdated, it makes it very vulnerable for hackers to get into. And so it's an easy point of access. I would also say, again, kids back in the day, at least when I was a kid, we had like dial up. So I wasn't able just to be on the internet 24/7 doing what I wanted to do. Where again, now kids have access to be on it whenever they want. There's different, you know, criminals that target children. Even again, the games look good, but people will pay a lot of money to get ads in front of these individuals that then can lead to different exposures. And then I think Bluetooth, that's the one that still blows my mind and scares me in the world of just cyber because it's such a common thing to do. You just, again, Bluetooth to your headphones, you Bluetooth to your car, you Bluetooth to everything. And once that Bluetooth connection's open, you're really opening the door for people to get in without you having any recollection because you don't always need even a password to connect to a Bluetooth. So, it is definitely a growing concern. And then obviously after COVID, the work from home situations, we are seeing businesses tighten up on what that means, but there's still a lot of personal exposure out there. And again, depending on how large of a company you work for, you may work within a VPN, which helps protect your personal stuff as well. Because if you're doing business within a VPN, it's being kind of scrambled up so a hacker can't get into it. So again, maybe looking at the company you work for and what is their cyber policies can also help you and your clients eliminate some of that work from home exposure that comes with it.
You had a really good point too when we talked about this yesterday about having separate devices or separate laptops for your personal versus your business. Could you talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, so when it comes to life, again, this is something I implemented probably a year and a half ago, but I only do business on my work laptop because, again, if I download something, if I save a picture that maybe had a virus attached to it in the back, it now can get into the business system. And or even if I'm just answering those personal emails. So Laura, you gave that example of, you know, the kids calling and it's that AI person on the phone. Well, the same things with emails. You'll get an email saying, you know, I'm here and I lost my phone and the only way I can communicate is email. Can you please wire me, you know, $50,000, whatever it is. And a lot of times emails are a little easier to point out, but they have become more sophisticated, especially around like tax time. You may get an email saying, hey, the IRS still hasn't received your payment. You freak out. So you click on that link real quick and now you've just downloaded a virus. And again, we don't want that virus to get into your business world. versus the laptop of your personal. And for those business owners, again, if you're a business owner and you're the one that causes the data breach, there is a lot of requirements from you, depending on the state in which you live in, that you have to do for your clients. You have to notify them, you have to monitor their credit, and there's other things depending again on the scope of work that you perform that may come in and cost your business a lot of money, potentially bankrupting it.
Okay, couple other questions. Is it typically cheaper to get coverage if you tie it to your home or auto carrier?
Yes. And at this point, it's tied typically to your homeowner's policy. So whether that's renters, condo, or homeowners, standalone coverage is very expensive. And typically it's hard to find in today's market. It'll probably be out there in the next 2 to 3 years. But usually being attached to the homeowners is the way to go at this point.
Okay. What insurance companies offer cyber policies for a single financial planner working out of their homes? What are the typical costs? And how do standalone policies compare versus cyber riders in an E&O policy?
So for financial advisors and what you guys do, there are a few different products out there from cyber. Markel has a good cyber product that I'm aware of. Chubb has a good product that I'm aware of, but there's also stipulations that you have to, if you do alternatives, that makes cyber coverage a lot more expensive than if you don't do alternatives. So there's other dynamics as an advisor that go into it. So I'm happy to recommend some insurance professionals that specifically work with financial advisors, but there is a whole different set of kind of criteria to think through. But it is relatively affordable. It's under $1,000 a year typically. And if you're a one-man shop, I'd probably less than that.
And what types of conversations should advisors be driving about, specifically about this cyber protection?
Yeah, I think right now it's just one, making sure your clients are kind of aware of the cyber exposures that they face, checking their home policies to see if it's on there. Again, List the Plan tool could be a great way to easily do that so you don't have to understand where on the deck page the cyber coverage could be. But also, maybe doing a one pager or just a quick email out to your clients, again, with this slide of just, hey, sat in on this presentation, great to kind of consider or look through, because it really comes down to that cyber hygiene. It comes down to them not giving out their passwords, making sure their kids potentially have a separate routing system. So you educating them that, hey, the exposure's out here and here's, 2 or 3 things that you can do to help eliminate that, I think is the starting point. And then again, making sure the protection's on their policy if available.
Next question. Does working on a mobile hotspot work similar to a personal Wi-Fi?
It
If,
does.
if the phone is linked to public Wi-Fi, then the work laptop is connected to the mobile personal hotspot. Does this work?
So I think so like I mobile hotspot and I'm not connected to a Wi-Fi system. So that is different versus if you're, I don't know if there's protection when you go through like the hotspot to the phone or not, but I can definitely talk to some of my cyber folks and get a clearer answer on that.
We actually just had a really interesting cybersecurity training here at Holistiplan where they went through basically that you should go and delete all of your previous Wi-Fi connections because sometimes people can kind of spoof a hotspot and say, for example, if you were at Starbucks and you had connected to Starbucks Wi-Fi, then you might have 3 different Starbucks Wi-Fi saved in your phone as something that your phone can automatically connect to, but maybe only the first one is really Starbucks and the second one is actually a hacker. So you should go through your hotspot connections and your Wi-Fi connections every 3 months or so and just delete all the ones that you're not using on a regular basis so that you know where your phone is automatically connecting. That's another thing.
These are great questions though.
Yes. Okay. Can you repeat the typical cost of coverage?
Yeah, so for homeowners, it's going to be anywhere like 25,000 in coverage is usually between 25, $50 a year. And then for 100,000 in coverage is anywhere from 140 to $300 a year. And then there's additional, you can get higher limits, but it doesn't increase too much from there. But I do
Reasonable.
believe everyone should have at least 25 to 50,000 in coverage on their
Mhm.
policies.
Okay, this question comes from another anonymous attendee. Do we have anything that's already client approved?
From a handout perspective, I don't at this point, but I'm happy to create one.
Yeah, I guess I have a follow-up question to your question. And my follow-up question would be, could you be more specific? Are you talking about in terms of recommendations in the product? Are you talking about in terms of handouts or suggestions, worksheets? So in terms of things that are already in the product, we are actually working on adding some cybersecurity recommendations to our property and casualty product. That's something that Meaghan is going to be leading, and we're really excited to have her on board. Okay, just in terms of education to clients for all of this, we can definitely make something. I think we could make
Yeah.
something.
And I know Chubb does, so I can send a good flyer on, but it's just got some good colorful stuff in the meantime if you want something quickly.
Okay. All right, you're welcome. Any other questions? We have about 15 more minutes with Meaghan. She is a treasure trove of insurance risk management information. So if you have any questions about what your client should be doing or the types of advice you should be giving, she is absolutely the go-to person. All right, quiet group today.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we could wrap up early. Well, thank you, Meaghan, very much for your time today. It's always so educational learning from you and getting to see all of the insights on this. So super helpful. Really happy to be here with you, and we'll see you in another couple of weeks.
Thank you all, and I hope you all have a great week.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.